Welcome to episode 84 of the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. I'm Ashley Scott Myers, screenwriter and blogger over at sellingyourscreenplay.com. Today I'm interviewing producer and actors Damon and JT Alexander, who recently produced the independent crime thriller 10 Cent Pistol. These guys raised the money for this movie, so we talk quite a bit about exactly how they went about doing that. So stay tuned for that. If you find this episode valuable, please help me out by giving me a review in iTunes or leaving a comment on YouTube or retweeting the podcast on Twitter or liking us on Facebook. These social media shares really do help spread word about the podcast, so they are very much appreciated. Couple of quick notes. Any websites or links that I mention in the podcast can be found on my blog in the show notes. I also publish a transcript with every episode in case you'd rather read the show or look at something later on. You can find all the podcast show notes at www.sellingyourscreenplay.com/podcasts, and then just look for episode number 84. A couple of quick updates. I continually build out the SYS script library. Last week I added The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Sopranos pilot script, and The Mad Men pilot script. These were sent in by Brooklyn Hudson, so thank you again, Brooklyn, for sending in some scripts. If you have a bunch of screenplays that you don't see listed in the library, please do email them to me. The SYS script library is completely free. All the scripts are in PDF format, so you can download and read them on whatever device you like to use. Just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com/library. Last week, I published a new blog post called Screenwriting Software. I get a lot of questions about which screenwriting software to use, and this is a good post to give you some options. The URL is a bit unwieldy, so I will link to it in the show notes if you want to check that out. I just want to mention, too, a free webinar that I'm doing on Wednesday, August 12th. It's called How to Effectively Market Your Screenplay and Sell It. I'm going to go through all the various online channels that are available to screenwriters to help them market their scripts, and I'm going to give you my unfiltered opinion of each one. I get questions all the time, like, does the blacklist work? Have you ever used Inktip? Which contest should I enter? I've tried pretty much every marketing channel available to screenwriters. I'm going to go through and give you my unfiltered opinion on each one and tell you which ones work and which ones I don't think do work. A lot of what I'm going to say isn't something I would ever say in a public podcast. Again, this webinar is completely free. Don't worry if you can't make it to the live event. I'll be recording this event, so if you sign up, I'll get you a link to the recorded event after it happens. So to sign up, just go to www.sellingyourscreenplay.com/free webinar, and the word free webinar is all lowercase and all one word. So it's just sellingyourscreenplay.com/free webinar. And of course, I will link to the webinar in the show notes as well, so you can find it there. A quick few words about what I'm working on. I've been talking about the last couple of weeks about my script, which I put on the blacklist. It renewed on July 20th, so I'll keep it active until August 20th. After last week's episode published, I got a whole bunch of emails and tweets from people with all sorts of suggestions about how to sort of manage my blacklist listing. All those were very helpful. I really do appreciate people who sent those in. I still just have the 4 industry downloads, and none of those industry people have given me a rating. So my script still sits on the blacklist with a 4 and an 8. One thing that Franklin Leonard mentioned when I interviewed him on the show, and someone actually tweeted this to me as well last week, is that the blacklist has some sort of a list that they send out, a list of scripts that they send out to their producer contacts. And what Franklin said on my show, and the person who tweeted this to me said the same thing. Now, maybe he was just getting it from my show. I don't know if he has inside information with the blacklist, but the bottom line was there seems to be this list that the blacklist sends out, and if your script gets 1 rating of an 8, which mine did, you will be included in this list. I would hope that when this list gets out, I'll hope that I would get a bunch more downloads. So I don't know when that list publishes. Maybe it already has. Maybe that's why I got the 4 downloads when I did get them. I'm just not sure, but I am going to, the other big suggestion was that people tweeted in was that if you get a rating of 2 ratings that are very, very different, you get a free or a discounted read on your next one. Franklin, again, he mentioned this on the podcast. Nobody contacted me about this from the blacklist. I got a 4 and 8. That seems like two very divergent scores. So I would think I would be eligible for this, but I haven't heard anything. So someone mentioned, hey, contact their customer service. So I think I'm going to do that. I just would like to find out about this list, get an official answer about this list, and get an official answer about if you get these divergent scores, do you get a free or discounted read on your next one? So I will do that in hopefully the next week, as I said, contact customer service. But in the meantime, I'm just going to let the script ride, and hopefully I'll get some more industry downloads. So now let's get into the main segment. Today I'm interviewing Damon and JT Alexander. Here is the interview. Welcome, Damon and JT, to the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show.
How you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
So let's dig into your latest film, 10 Cent Pistol, which you guys acted in and produced. Maybe to start out, you can give us a quick pitch or a logline of the film, just in case people haven't checked out the trailer yet. I'll always link to the trailer in the show notes, but just for people that are coming into this cold, maybe you can just give us a logline for it.
Two brothers are, two career criminals are up against their biggest heist. It kind of goes wrong, and there's a girl that's involved. That they're both very interested in, and the girl just kind of plays both brothers. And, in the end, it's kind of a little surprise, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, perfect. So how did you guys get involved with this project? This project actually came about a couple years back. This all started at a Mets-Dodger game, believe it or not. We were sitting next to the writer of Brooklyn's Finest, and we were just chatting. Michael C. Martin is his name. And I said to my brother, obviously we exchanged contact information. A couple months later, I said to Damon, hey, maybe this guy should write us a little short film. Then it was called Brotherly Love. And then one day we woke up and decided that we should probably make this Brotherly Love short a full feature. And we went out and raised the financing for it, and then it became 10 Cent Pistol. So it actually all started at a Mets-Dodger game, believe it or not.
Huh, perfect. I believe it. I believe it. That's great. That's a great story. So did you guys go out and actually shoot the short script that this guy wrote, and that's sort of how was the inspiration to turn it into a feature, or just starting to produce the feature, you realized, hey, let's just go ahead and in producing the short, you realized, let's just go ahead and do it.
I'm sorry. We shot a scene, and the reason why we shot a scene is we wanted to make sure that, Michael could actually direct, because that was one of the deals that we made. Mm-hmm. So we, not only did he, write it, but we're going to let him direct it. So we shot a scene. We loved the way it came out, and we decided that, let's do it. You know what I mean? Who gets to make a movie with their real brother from a writer that can write characters that we're familiar with? So let's just do it.
Yeah. So how involved were you guys with the actual creation of the story idea? Since you guys are brothers and wanted to be brothers in the movie, did you go to him and say, listen, we want something we can do together? Like, what was your relationship with it? And sort of tell us, maybe just walk us through that process of actually developing the script with this director.
Yeah, I mean, what we did was we obviously wanted him to write a piece for us, and we wanted to do a revenge-type movie. And he ended up Michael ended up spending a lot of time around us, having discussions, doing one-on-ones, trying to find out some of the quirks and some of the real stuff that JT made, and I have, between each other. Like I've shared in other interviews, I think that, every family dynamic has some sort of competitive situation going on. And Michael wanted to kind of tap into some of the real stuff that we have going on a personal level. So, yeah, it was from the infancy stage, the embryonic stage, we were involved from the beginning. And what we did is he took a lot of information, and then he put it on paper, and he's like, look, I have a really cool, draft I want you guys to read. So he sent us the draft. We started reading it. We really enjoyed it. And, that's kind of how that happened.
Okay.
You shared with me earlier that, most people were very surprised in how we got a movie made, and we got it made so quickly. And, look, I think at the end of the day, you have to approach this business with a reckless abandonment. In other words, people are going to tell you no. People are going to say you can't do it. People are going to say it's impossible.
The naysayers.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to say all that shit. And at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself and you go get your money, you go get your financiers on board, you cut your deals, you go make your movie. You know what I mean? You make it happen. And nowadays, the blessing is, well, there's a blessing and there's not a blessing. I mean, I think, I kind of tend to lean on, I like a lot of the old classic films, I'm kind of a guy. And I think there's a little bit of a shortage of good quality material out there nowadays. I mean, I'm not a big fan of all these kind of popcorn movies. But long story short, the cost of making movies nowadays has gone down. So really, I don't want to say anybody can do it, but anybody can do it if you have a camera, if you have good material, and you have actors. I encourage people to shoot their own stuff. Make your own movie, because the time is never been better for somebody with a 5D or with an iPhone, or I don't care what it is, Blackmagic, whatever your camera is. You need a camera, you need locations, and you need willing actors, and you got a movie. Hopefully the dialogue's interesting enough to attract talent that wants to say the words. But you know what I'm saying? You're there.
Yeah. So let's dig in a little bit to the actual process of raising money. I mean, in my experience in the film business, that's like 99.999% of independent film is raising the money. Once you've done that, you're pretty much all set. So maybe we can dig into that, and you can just kind of tell us how you guys raise money, and then maybe some of the lessons that you learned.
Well, the number one thing in raising money is to be completely forthright and honest and transparent from the beginning. To go and pitch an investor about making profit, and a lot of profit, on a movie, especially if you're a first-time producer, or I don't care if you're a five-time producer. If that's your pitch and that's your angle, you're making a mistake. Because the bottom line is, people that are wealthy don't need you to make money. They need to do something that they feel is interesting, entertaining. They'd like to break even. If they make a profit, that's even better. But it's just the biggest mistake that I find that some producers make is they keep talking about making money with movies. The reality is, figure out a way where you can make your film. Figure a way that you can conservatively get your investor back their money, and figure out a way you can have a shitload of fun doing the process, not only for yourself, but for your investor and for everybody else involved. If you're doing that, then you're on the right path. For us personally, I mean, raising money is always a difficult thing, and you just have to be very straight with people. And you have to make sure that you're budgeted properly. And one of the things that you want to do is make sure that when you ask for the money, you know the numbers that you have to have. You don't want to keep going back to people saying, I need more, I need more, I need more. That's just not a good method of the process. So.
Yeah. So maybe you can dig into some of those specifics, like you're talking about basically pitching to some wealthy people, and I think that's great advice. I've seen these people pitching, and they have all these things like, hey, look at the Blair Witch Project. It was made for $50,000 and made $50 million, and those kinds of sort of business plans are absolutely ridiculous. And so I think you're right. Taking a more honest approach is probably a smarter angle, and it's a better story to tell. But maybe you can just dig in a little bit. How did you get some of those meetings with these wealthy people who potentially might want to invest in something like a film?
Well, my background is I do raise money, and I have raised money for a while for real estate transactions and publicly traded companies. So I'm kind of I kind of know a lot of people that are in that capacity. The old scenario and saying that you are who you surround yourself with is true. It always has been true. And if you're surrounding yourself with people that are struggling, the chances are that you're probably struggling. If you're surrounding yourself with people that are not struggling, the chances are is if you're struggling, you may not struggle for that much longer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
So the method is, don't talk to a wealthy investor about making money in film. Take the Blair Witch, take everything else that's an anomaly off the table, because they see through that. It makes no sense, and what they do is they equate it to buying a stock like Netflix that's trading ridiculously high today. It's no different. And what you're actually doing is, if you're pitching an investor off of making money off of movies, forget it. They can make money and have a lot more control doing something else, i.e. trading Netflix. Now, if you're pitching an investor or somebody that, listen, a film lives forever, it stays around forever, it's something that you can collect and you'll have for a long, making a film is like having a piece of art. It's a different situation. You own it, you have it forever, it lives forever. You can go back to it when you're lonely or when you want to be reminded. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
if
it happens to make some money, great, it makes some money. If you can get your investor even and they have a fun time, they have a good experience, they end up with something that lasts forever, that's meaningful, that's important. I also suggest that, again, depending on who your investor is, you have to know your investor. You have to know what makes that person tick. You need to know what's important to them. You need to do your background as a filmmaker because you need to know how to serve that person appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So that may mean you should bring them maybe closer to the production and have them involved and have them, I'm not saying make, directorial choices, but have them involved in the process. Or you may be in a situation where it's in your best interest to have the investor completely off, the deal as far as the day-to-day operation. But my number one advice is you have to know your investor. You have to know what their expectation is. You have to set realistic expectations. You've got to get rid of your Blair Witch pitches and all that other stuff because for every Blair Witch, there's 5,000 movies that don't even come close.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the reality.
Yeah. So maybe just quickly, you can kind of just tell us, what do these meetings look like? Are they one-on-one meetings? Are they a group of people you sit down with and pitch to? And what do you bring to these meetings? Do you even bother with a business plan, or is it more just about you getting in front of the room and kind of telling a story?
Well, it's all three. I was always taught, number one, whether you're pitching, making a movie, or whatever, look your best. I suggest you dress professionally. I suggest your shoes are shined. I don't care if you put on a suit, but you better look like you're put together. That's the first thing. I think I would get rid of. You can do the ripped jeans, the ripped T-shirt, and the ripped boots when you've made $50 million and your name is Brett Ratner or whatever it is. So don't act like you've already made it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we've done business plans and we've done conversations of this is what we want to do. What do you think? We've raised money in a few different ways. I've raised money at coffee shops. I've raised money in group presentations. I've raised money, sitting on my cell phone in my house. So it depends on who it is. The bottom line is, the only way you're going to get money is you have to constantly be asking for it. This isn't you go have one meeting, ask for the money one time, and you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. You've got to have 50 meetings. You've got to ask for the money 100 times, and then 2 of those people will give it to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. That's sound advice for sure. So maybe to wrap up, you can just tell us, where is 10 Cent Pistol going to be released, and when will it hit video on demand?
It's going to hit video on demand July 24th. It's going to be in theaters in LA and New York July 24th.
Okay.
And it's going to be on all platforms, iTunes, Netflix, Hulu. It's going to be on ATT Uverse. We're going wide, baby. We're going wide.
Okay.
And,
perfect.
We're looking forward to it. Have you had a chance to see the film?
I did. I watched it a couple nights ago. I thought it was very entertaining. It was well done. I mean, the production value is great. The acting, you guys are both did a great job with it.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
So, sure. So the final question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. What was it?
Just on the final question, I just like to just ask people, how can people follow you and kind of keep up with what you're doing? If you're on Twitter, maybe mention your Twitter handle. If you're on Facebook, mention your Facebook page, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, you can follow us on our Facebook page, Damon Alexander or JT Alexander. We also have a Route 17 entertainment page as well that people can like, and they can check out other upcoming projects that we're doing there as well.
Perfect.
We're not big Twitter tweeters and all that kind of stuff. We could probably do a better job with tweeting and twitting and all that.
Yeah. So okay, perfect. Perfect. Well, this has been an interesting interview. Some great advice for people that are looking to raise funding. So I appreciate your coming on and talking with me today.
You got it, man.
Thank you.
A quick plug for the SYS Screenwriting Analysis Service. It's a really economical way to get a high-quality professional evaluation of your screenplay. When you buy our 3-pack, you get evaluations at just $67 per script for feature films and just $55 for teleplays. All the readers have professional experience reading for studios, production companies, contests, and agencies. You can read a short bio on each reader on our website, and you can pick the reader who you think is the best fit for your script. Turnaround time is usually just a few days, but rarely more than a week. The readers will evaluate your script on 6 key factors: concept, characters, structure, marketability, tone, and overall craft, which includes formatting, spelling, and grammar. Every script will get a grade of pass, consider, or recommend, which should help you roughly understand where your script might rank if you were to submit it to a production company or agency. We provide analysis on features and television scripts, and we also do proofreading, so if you don't want an analysis but would like someone to proofread your script, we now offer that too. We also will write a logline and synopsis. You can have that service added on to your analysis. And we will also now evaluate a treatment. I had a few people asking us, they had a 5 or a 10 or even a 15 or 20 page treatment, and they wanted to know if we could evaluate that, basically using the same criteria as we use for our feature films. And of course, we can do that as well. As a bonus, if your script gets a recommend from a reader, you get a free email and fax blast to my list of industry contracts. This is the exact same blast I use myself to promote my own scripts, and it's the same service I sell on the website. It's a great way to get your script into the hands of producers who are looking for material. So if you want a professional evaluation of your screenplay at a very reasonable price, check out www.sellingyourscreenplay.com/consultants. In the next episode of the podcast, I'm going to be interviewing Keith Miller, who wrote and directed the urban crime drama 5 Star. It's an excellent example of a high-quality, low-budget, independent film. He used a lot of actors who don't have a ton of acting experience, but he got some great performances out of them. We talk about that. We talk about how he got this movie off the ground. We talk about writing of the script. So if you want to do one of these really low-budget, independent films, I think this is a great template. So keep an eye out for that episode next week. Just a quick note. Last week I mentioned that I would be interviewing Tony Lupus on this week's show. Obviously, that got switched around. I'm going to have him on the September 7th episode. I switched the schedule around a little bit so that the interviews could be better timed with the release of the films that the filmmakers are on promoting. So if you're wondering what happened to that interview, it's in the can and it's going to be published on September 7th. So keep an eye out for that episode in a few weeks. To wrap things up, I just want to touch on something from today's interview with Damon and JT. Damon talked about how he worked in the finance industry, so he had contacts he could go to raise money for this film. And it's not just the contacts either, but he had the sales skills to be able to get in a room and talk to these people and have them talk them into investing in a feature film. He gave some great tips about how to go about negotiating that and how to frame that sales pitch. I think those are excellent tips if that's your strategy. I know I'm going to get some emails and tweets from people saying, but I don't have a job that can help me raise money for a movie. But that to me begs the question, why not? Why don't you have a job that can help you with your screenwriting career? Is there a day job that could help you with your passion for screenwriting? And I'm not just talking about the obvious production assistant job in Hollywood either. I know there's a lot of people out there, they can't move to Hollywood. They live somewhere way outside of Los Angeles, and that's totally fine. I think that there's much more creative and less obvious solutions to this. The job that Damon talked about was in finance. That was not specific to Los Angeles. There's one job that would probably be available in virtually every large city, some sort of a finance job where you're trying to talk people into investing in your mutual fund or talking people into investing in your retirement fund. Those jobs are everywhere there's a city. There's going to be those types of sales jobs. So, think about that. Maybe that's a job that you could get, and that could potentially help you meet people that have disposable income that might be able to help you raise money for your feature film. A couple weeks ago, too, I had David Garrett on the podcast. He is a lawyer and screenwriter, and he explained in great detail how his being a lawyer has really helped him with his screenwriting career. If David can turn a career as a lawyer into a launching pad for screenwriting, you can probably do something simpler. You just have to be creative. Any sales or marketing job can help you with your screenwriting career. See if you can find a telemarketing job in your small town or small city. No matter how bad this job is, if you can master phone cold calling and phone sales, that can help you immensely with cold calling production companies. I've said this on the podcast many times in the past. Cold calling production company is incredibly difficult because you're confronting an actual live person, but I've seen it work. I've talked to people that have made it work. It's a great way of doing it, but you have to be good. You have to have those skills, and one of the ways you can get those skills is just by getting a low-level telemarketing job. Those are really brutal jobs. People are rude to you. They hang up on you, but if you can master that, just cold calling people and selling them something over the phone, that's a great skill that you can then very, very easily use to sell your screenplays. Calling production companies, it's very easy to find phone numbers on IMDb Pro or just Googling the company's website. You can make a list of companies. You can start cold calling. You can start meeting people just through the phone and networking through the phone if you have those skills. Any kind of a job doing door-to-door sales. Again, these are low-level jobs, and I know that they can be brutal. I saw it's an entrepreneurial podcast, and I can't remember the business, but it was one of those very typical door-to-door sales jobs. This entrepreneur had done that early in his career, and there was some sort of a statistic. If you can master door-to-door sales, like your chances of success in life are almost 100%, like literally, because it's such a brutal job. If you can get good at it and you have the persistence to stick to it, it almost assures that you're going to be successful at something else. And I would say that's a great job to have if you're a wannabe screenwriter, getting those door-to-door sales skills. Again, knocking on someone's door, a random person, a stranger, you just knock on their door and you pitch them some, product that you care little about. If you can master that, you can learn how to pitch your screenplays. You can learn how to talk to people that you don't know, get them excited for products. And those are great skills to have. And those are jobs that exist, I would say, virtually any even semi-urban area in the world. There's going to be door-to-door sales jobs. There's going to be some sort of sales jobs. Even working on the showroom of a floor, having people come in, car sales, any kind of a sales or marketing job, I really think could be a big benefit to anybody who wants to be a screenwriter. And I'm just scratching the surface here. I mean, just you can get creative. Think about whatever skills you have. How can you take those skills and use them to further your screenwriting career? Using myself as an example, in the late 90s, I got a job working for a tech company. I learned some programming, and that's what I'm kind of doing with selling your screenplay. I mean, that's a prime example. I'm meeting tons of people doing these podcasts. I'm meeting tons of other screenwriters. I'm networking with, I interviewed Franklin Leonard. I'm networking with the guys over in Inktip. It's like I'm starting to get to know these people, and I'm taking those technical skills that I have, programming skills, running blogs, running websites, marketing skills. I'm taking them, putting them into selling a screenplay, which is having a nice residual effect on my screenwriting career. It's opening doors as a screenwriter as well. So think about what skills you have and think about what your day job could be that could really enhance those opportunities and those skills. I can pretty much guarantee you that there is some job that would be beneficial to screenwriting, to your screenwriting career in your small town. Go out and get that job. Leverage that time. You're going to spend, whatever your day job is, you're going to spend 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day doing it. Leverage that time. Make sure that time is spent. So at least a little bit of it, at least a little bit of those skills. And it's not going to be super efficient. I mean, maybe, some sort of a job is going to be doing part A and then part B, but maybe part B can help you with your screenwriting career. Maybe part B is only 2 hours a day, but, leverage that time. Use that time wisely with your day job and think about what your ultimate goals are as a screenwriter. Think about what your skill sets are and see if you can't find a job that really, really
suits your skills and can also potentially move your screenwriting career forward. Don't be the pessimist who writes in trying to explain to me why they can't get a better job, or why Damon was lucky, or why their situation is so much tougher than everybody else's. Don't waste your time writing that email. Spend your energy trying to think about how you can craft a career, and how you can use your skills, and how you can use your current situation to your advantage, not to your detriment. Anyway, that's the show. Thank you for listening.